Hey, this is Meredith's husband. I've got some SEO advice for you, but I'm going to keep it really simple so that you can understand it, so it makes sense, and most importantly, so you can actually use it. All right, I have just a few quick updates here related to AI because we finished the last episode talking about AI and specifically the differences, some differences between ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and literally that episode ended with us talking about design features. I have an update on that. And also I have a few other updates revolving around OpenAI and ChatGPT. Okay, so first, the design issue. So in the last episode, I mentioned in terms of design, my preference is still for ChatGPT versus Claude. I just personally feel that ChatGPT does a better job with most tasks related to design. Now, since we recorded that episode, Meredith was actually playing with some design features in ChatGPT. And I don't know if this was like a request that she did to get something to publish it on her site or what it was, but she asked ChatGPT to create a sort of caricature, a cartoon figure of herself as a children's photographer. And I don't know what the prompt she gave ChatGPT was or how much she tried to tweak it, but she wasn't thrilled with the result. It was decent. I certainly think it was decent, but she took the same prompt and then went to try Claude to see how Claude did with it. And the difference between those two is as night and day as you can get. I think ChatGPT created something that would be in line with like a professional illustrator. Might not be your personal preference, but it was pretty good. Had a couple weird things like a photo hanging on the outside of a building, etc., but you can adjust that. Also seemed to have a brownstone sitting right in the middle of a park, but the quality, I think, was pretty good. Now, like I said, she took the same prompt and asked Claude to create something, and she got what I would consider to be something that looked like you would expect from a first grader. In fact, she showed these to me and to a couple of her friends, and somebody asked the question, "Oh, I like Claude. Were you going for a South Park look?" And if you're familiar with the cartoon South Park, it's not visually that impressive. Anyway, I'm going to link to an image that shows both of those side by side below so you can see the difference, because to me it was, like I said, really striking. Now, that said, yeah, creating a design, again, my preference is for ChatGPT. However, not all designs are the same. If you look at the link below, you'll see it's literally creating a cartoon. When I'm creating something like a slide deck, that's a little bit of design. And for that, I actually prefer Claude. I think Claude does a better job. So it still very much depends on exactly what you're trying to do. But I thought you might get a kick out of this link below. Okay. Otherwise, OpenAI has made some, I think, pretty big announcements recently. If you are a ChatGPT user, you may have seen some of these. You may have gotten an email about changes to their privacy policy. I'll cover those in just a second. They also retired their older models, all the 4.0, 4.1, 4.1 mini, all the older models of ChatGPT have been retired. 5.2 is now the new default moving forward. And in that email that you may have received, you may or may not have looked at, were a couple of announcements. One, ads are rolling out. So ChatGPT is going to start rolling out advertisements in their responses. Now, this is no surprise. Like everybody, especially inside my industry, everybody knew this was coming. The big question is going to be, how do they do it? Do they roll it out? Do they roll out ads out in a way so that they are part of their responses? That's the big question. And to give you an idea of what I mean by that, think of Google Ads. So Google search engine appeared, and for quite a while, number of years anyway, it was all free. It was just a search engine. Then they rolled out their ads. Now, they did it in a way so that the ads are separate from their organic results, and there is no overlap between the two. In fact, there are whole teams at Google who their sole purpose is to make sure that there is no overlap, either directly or indirectly by accident, between their organic results and their paid results. Because if that were to happen and an advertiser could start paying to have influence over the organic results, the quality of those results are going to have a big question mark on them. So that's what we're wondering about when ads start to roll out inside ChatGPT. Now, they have claimed that they are going to be separate, that the ads are not going to influence the actual responses that you get from ChatGPT. But we are all, again, inside the industry, kind of eagerly awaiting to see how that plays out. The other announcement in the privacy policy update, and I think this is a bigger one, is it talks about social syncing. So what that means, and this is right out of the Meta playbook. Facebook did this years ago, and it wasn't really alarming when they started to do it. But what they have done since then is extremely alarming if you're at all privacy minded. But what ChatGPT is going to start doing is you can enroll in a feature that is going to allow your contacts to be synced with your ChatGPT account. So ChatGPT will have access to all of your contacts. Anybody in your contact list, if you enable that feature, ChatGPT, OpenAI, will then have access to all of your contacts. They'll have whatever information you have inside your contacts, OpenAI will have that information. Now, you don't need to enable this feature. It is a purely opt-in. However, what's going to happen is think of everyone you have in your contacts list. Now think of those people. They likely have you in their contacts list, right? So if anyone out there has you in their contact list and they enable this feature, even if you have the feature disabled in your own ChatGPT account, they will still be able to collect your information because you are in other people's contact list. And Facebook now is well known for doing this. Facebook builds profiles on active users, non-active users, and people who have never even created a Facebook account. But they actually have an active profile for people like that. And they do that on purpose. Okay, I will link to the privacy policy below also if you want to take a look. But to me, this is kind of an alarming trend. I mean, it's everything that has happened with ChatGPT and OpenAI over the last several years to me has been alarming. But this is a serious step down a path that, like I said, Facebook took this. This is a step right out of that same playbook. It appears to me anyway. Also in the news, OpenAI has very recently removed the word safety from their mission statement. So their mission statement used to say something about for the safety and benefit of all humanity. They took out the word safety, and now it just reads like something for the benefit of humanity. Now that still sounds okay. That still sounds like, oh yeah, they're trying to be safe. But a lot of people have argued that no, that's a very kind of generic term, the benefit of humanity. You could mean a lot of different things by that statement. And remember the original team of people at OpenAI who were involved in safety, and there were 11 founders at OpenAI, and I would say probably half, or if not more of them, their roles were specific to safety, because OpenAI started as a safety-minded nonprofit company. So it was really safety focused. However, the safety and what we call the alignment team, which is basically safety at OpenAI, has been completely dismantled. It is gone, and nearly 100% of the people who were involved in that aspect at OpenAI, the safety and alignment teams, they're gone. They are either quit, they've been pushed out, fired, or the team was just dismantled, and they've been reassigned to some other job at the company. Now, this taken with other things that we've talked about, the lawsuits about teens committing suicide, some families have been suing ChatGPT or suing OpenAI because of what ChatGPT did in those cases. These things all taken together, I think, are very, very, very alarming. This is why I have recently canceled. I used to have a pro OpenAI account. I have canceled that. I personally can't, or I don't want to give money to a company that kind of has this reputation. And as I have mentioned in other episodes, I am now a fan of Claude and the company that created Claude called Anthropic. I just think they are a much more transparent and now a more safety-minded company. I feel a lot better about investing my dollars with them than I do with OpenAI. And speaking about investing dollars, OpenAI just completed another round of funding where they raised $100 billion. Now, this is not necessarily news. All the AI companies, I think, are having no trouble raising funds. and that would be Anthropic and Perplexity. I imagine Google probably doesn't have to raise money for their AI efforts, but I just point this out because raising money alone is not a sign of any sort of malicious activity. However, all these things taken together and the fact that they are actively raising large amounts of money certainly says to me that they have plans for expansion. That's not a surprise either, but I know that a lot of users of ChatGPT have expressed critiques and complaints about ChatGPT and how it responds. So if you're in that camp, I encourage you to at least have accounts with Claude and Gemini just so you can compare, because they are all constantly rolling out updates. Some of the updates that have happened with Gemini, for example, they are getting stellar user reviews just in the last few weeks. Same with Claude, not the reviews so much, but as a user, I can see the feature updates, again, just in the last probably 3 weeks at Claude have been really impressive. So we are still in the stage now that I suggest that you have accounts and you don't tie yourself down to any one of these AI models. And if you are a user of ChatGPT, say, and you are hesitant about moving your projects over and your chats over to another model, like I was when I was first moving over to Claude, I was kind of dreading having to move all my history, move over my projects and chats and all that stuff. I felt it was going to be really an insurmountable task. But what you can do is you can literally start an account in Claude and say to Claude, hey, I'm using ChatGPT. I would like to move some or all of my projects over to your platform. Please create a prompt that I can paste into ChatGPT and have it spit out everything that you will need to continue doing what ChatGPT has been doing without any, or let's say with minimal downtime. Now, this is not a foolproof process, but it will greatly expedite that process. If you have a lot of information in one AI model and you want to try a different AI model, this will help you dramatically kind of move your information over. Okay, I hope that helps.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. We really hope that you find this helpful and useful. And if you do, what you could do for us as a thanks would be to, drumroll please, yes, leave a review. Yes, everybody says it, I know, but it really does make a difference. Take 3 seconds, leave as many stars, say something really nice about what you like about the podcast and maybe why other people would like it. It would mean the world to us, especially my husband. That better? All right, I'm going to try one where I'm not going to be charming.